Hello. It's been some time since my last video, especially a book video. But I wanted to do this video because it just kind of popped in my head some connection between, our book by Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray, and the movie Obsession. Before we start, I did want to mention just a little tidbit. I did read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. It was fine. It had some good parts with Raskolnikov, and I can't remember the police officer's name that's after him. But it's probably not something I'd read again. But I'm proud, it's like the sixth or seventh time I've tried to read it. I was able to complete it like 25 pages at a time. It took a while, but we knocked that one out. But to get into the topic of the day, the thing that made the connection between The Picture of Dorian Gray and Obsession is how both protagonists, we're going to call them, Dorian Gray and Bear, they make wishes that they don't think are going to come true, and they do come true. So for Dorian Gray, he gets the portrait painted of him by, his name is Basil or Basil. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. The reason why I vacillate between the two is because, basil's just the leaf that you use for cooking. But in Austin Powers, I'm pretty sure he calls him Basil. And so in my head, I always hear Austin Powers saying Basil. So I'm going with Basil because I like that movie. So anyway, Basil's portrait is painted, and Lord Henry's talking Dorian Gray's ear off about his beauty and hedonism and seeking out your pleasures. And Dorian Gray just makes a wish, which turns into like a Faustian bargain, right? He trades his soul away for his mortal wish, which is that he wishes that the portrait becomes old and shows signs of his sin rather than Dorian Gray. So Dorian Gray is going to retain his youth and his beauty the rest of his life, while his portrait will reflect all the sin and the aging that he undergoes. And he makes this wish and this trade without knowing it's going to happen. He just happens to say it, and it comes true. And the same thing happened with Bear. He has his one wish willow, and he wishes that Nikki loves him more than anyone else, right? And he breaks the one wish willow. But he doesn't know this one wish willow is actually going to work. They just both do it on an off chance. And then instead of something wonderful happening from these situations, Dorian Gray, he makes some mistakes early and sees the sin on his portrait. And he thinks, well, shoot, maybe I should be a good person. I don't want this portrait of mine reflecting all of this sin and me aging and looking terrible. But then he ends up enjoying it. He likes going and seeing the portrait degrade and become some sort of monster. And I can kind of relate to that. Sometimes it's strange the things that our mind can make us do. I don't have a portrait that changes with my sin, but sometimes after you've done something you shouldn't have, maybe it breaks your moral code, it can destroy you. But sometimes I've felt kind of the pleasure he sees when the portrait changes. I'm like, well, I was terrible, but that was, it was like thrilling. It's thrilling to see it be bad, right? And it's not like, I've been like a good school kid and I'm cutting class and that's so exciting and bad. It's not something like that, but like something that maybe hurts you morally. But sometimes you can find pleasure in those things. I think that's it's not common, but I think it's universally felt sometimes. I know I felt it myself. And with Bear, he thinks he can maintain this relationship with Nikki. No matter how crazy he gets, he wants to hold on to this relationship and to just never let it go. And well, I've felt the same situation. I think I can hold on. Sometimes I feel like I don't remember which Spider-Man. I know it's Tobey Maguire. one of those ones, but it's like he's trying to hold the subway car like this, and I think his mask is tearing and you can see the webs breaking and he's trying to hold on. He's just trying to keep the relationship together no matter how crazy it gets. And I can relate to that too. But I think part of the reason, I think there's two things about the destruction of these two characters. I think one is that it happens with a wish, right? It's not something organic that happens. Dorian Gray doesn't go through trials and tribulations. He's young in life and he gets this instant wish that changes his entire life. It's almost like a lot of like the Disney stars or the young kids that are on television or movies. There's many examples of them falling apart into adulthood because they get this instant fandom, they get these instant riches, and they haven't really gone through life. They're just a kid. And then as they grow older and things happen, they sometimes can't handle that the fandom and the stardom and everything that's thrown at them in life. As you get older, things get harder and there's more things you have to think about. And if you don't go through things organically, you don't become stronger. I think a lot of the time stuff that's thrown at us, I mean, for the most part, we can handle. Sometimes you can, and I understand, but even if you don't, you still build that strength and build that resolve and try to move forward. And if you don't allow it to happen organically, if it happens magically, there's nothing in your life that you can relate to or use to help you get through that. Same thing with Bear, like his situation wasn't organic, right? I think that's kind of like some of the lore is that Nikki doesn't really love him. So she starts to go into this crazy mode because it's breaking the law of nature. You can't just force someone to love you like that when they don't actually love you. And so she starts to go crazy. And maybe if they had a relate, I know he was trying before, and maybe they could have made some sort of chemistry if they had just grown in some way. Maybe Nikki actually left the music store, or Bear left the music store and went and did something with their life and came back, and then they got back together in some sort of situation. But that happens organically because you're growing as a person and you're changing and you're learning so much that if you don't allow that to happen and you let a wish dictate, it can truly destroy your life. And then on top of that, like the second point, right, is that Dorian Gray is out there seeking pleasure. That's his whole thing. That's like what Lord Henry kind of preaches in his almost cynical way. But the pleasures that Dorian Gray seeks, it's like chapter 9 or chapter 11 or 10, one of those three, where like Oscar Wilde kind of goes crazy about all the things that Dorian Gray gets interested in, like tapestries and some other like artwork and some rich things. Like he goes like super deep into like the knowledge that he's kind of like flexing at the time on how he knows all these things. And it's kind of it's a slog to get through, but I think it's just showing that like Dorian Gray tried really hard to get interested in a lot of things and become like an expert at them, but they weren't fulfilling. He was just kind of doing them to do them, and he wasn't doing anything besides seeking pleasure. And once he was bored, he moved on. And Bear's, it's not really pleasure, but he's maintaining a relationship that shouldn't be maintained, and he knows it, and it's consuming him and the relationship, but he just can't seem to let go. He doesn't want to let go of what he thinks could happen or what could be good, right? Dorian Gray thinks the next thing he's going to find, maybe the next time he goes to the opium den, or the next time he finds another woman, or the next time he goes to the I can't think of the word, not like the gentleman's club, like the club. Next time he goes to the club, something good is going to happen, and that's going to satiate him. And it temporarily does, but it's not true fulfillment between the characters. Because I think sometimes fulfillment comes with restraints. I don't think you can live life without restraint, right? I think when let's say you've eaten 2 cookies and you're like, man, I really want to eat that third, but you shouldn't, and then you do. In the moment, it's great, but afterwards, it sucks. But if you have that restraint, you can feel good about yourself as well, and that lasts longer because you've had restraint. You know that you have resolve to not do things that you shouldn't. And so I think between the 2 characters, without things happening organically and without having some restraint in your life, and not always seeking the pleasure, but seeking, I guess restraint, or really, instead of just instantly agreeing to something, but sitting back thinking, what do I want to do, or what do I want to change, or what could I see myself moving forward? And it's not going to be the same answer every time. I have gone through many changes in my life. I've had several jobs and several different career paths now. But I'm happy I went through all of them, right? It's not like I have an end goal in mind, but if I had gotten a wish and just got to that end goal instantly, I wouldn't have everything in my past life to help me move forward with any other issues that I have, right? It's building a mountain of memories and situations which I can rely on in order to help me move forward. And so I think that's an important part of life, is just realizing that a lot of the tough times will help you in the future. And if you can channel them into something good, into something helping you move forward, then it should help you get where you want to go at the end, whatever that mountaintop is. But I think a lot of the times the mountaintop keeps moving. The goalposts keep getting further back. And that's okay, because you want to keep growing. A life stagnant, I don't think, is very much fun either. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I don't know what or when my next video will be, but I knew I wanted to make this one. So wherever you are on your path, just keep going forward and know it's going to help you at some point in your life. You never know where it's going to take you. Have some restraint in your life. I know a wish would make things easier, but I think there's more fulfillment in doing things organically. You can look back and know that, yeah, you've done something good. You built something. You have built something. It wasn't something given to you. And I think a lot of people go crazy when stuff's just given to them. Anyway, take care, and until next time.